The Western European countries, such as Spain, Germany and France, are trendsetters in the area of safer nightlife, with many good practice examples, and are game leaders on this topic and actions. So let's go beyond just promoting good practices and dive into discussion on how to transfer and widen the scope of the efforts by exploring the possible spill-out effect to the rest of the Europe and the world.
As Rave Awareness, we started working together in 2017, and within the last 5 years, the change is immense. There are certain conversations that we are having that we did not have before. There is certain courage to uncover violence, to expose that and compose that further on and heal. There is much more interest in implementing safer spaces policies, in creating awareness concepts, oftentimes as a response to violence that has already happened, and with an intention to prevent it from happening further on. What are the good practices that should be implemented on a larger scale? Awareness concepts and safer spaces policies. The practice of actually letting people know what kind of space they enter and making them feel responsible for creating safe environment for themselves and people around them. So that's the responsibility of those that create spaces that then can share this responsibility with people that they invite.
So how do we try to build something that was easily to duplicate elsewhere? We have first built something on prevention and education. So it's basically consisting pre-event communication, posters on site.
If we want to make our nightlife settings more egalitarian, I believe we should work together with more different stakeholders, because all of them have a crucial role to play and to create a balanced and a safer nightlife. And together we are definitely more powerful. So an important element as well is the in-house culture that is created in a club or in a festival, where the owners clearly state that sexism is not accepted and sexual discrimination and violence is not allowed. And of course, it starts with a gender balance put in place in every club or in every festival, as well in the club staff, as well in their musical lineups. Some good practices that should be implemented more in nightlife settings is the bystander approach, and in general the idea of taking care of your friends. We also see a positive evolution related to the implementation of safer spaces and awareness teams in festivals and clubs in Belgium. And another important good practice is the integration of the topic of sexism in all our trainings for bar staff in clubs and festivals. Besides, we also created a protocol how to act in case of sexual harassment in nightlife. And last but not least, we need to create awareness on this topic and bring it in the attention of the people and especially the nightlife entrepreneurs, and repeat it in different ways in various venues.
I also would like to stress how important is the holistic approach to this change. So it's not only about writing things at the door and saying no racism, no sexism, no homophobia, because that's a simple thing to do. We can write it at the door, it's written there and looks great. But what happens when we enter this door? What are our approaches? What are our attitudes? What norms are there? How do we decenter masculinity in these places? How do we decenter whiteness in these spaces? How do we decenter straightness in those spaces?
It's about having some education, communication before, during and after the event. It's about providing some guideline to help others to do better and not only us doing centrally something.
When we talk about transferring knowledge to Eastern Europe, I would like to stress the power disbalance between the West and the East within European boundaries, and think about how to equalize the dynamic and relationship, how to share privilege, so to say, access to capital and resources, and at the same time create space for growth and learning and sharing from folks from Eastern Europe that oftentimes create minorities in the West. Transferring knowledge requires us to connect with one another, to listen to one another, to hear each other's stories, to learn about one another, to then develop certain vulnerability and reflect on their own privileges.